Well, here we are, Donington Park Motors live for the 1,000 kilometres, the Le Mans Series. Mark Cole, David Leslie bringing you all the action this afternoon over what could be 6 hours, probably less. The weather's good. If we don't have too many safety cars, we should get this race over perhaps in about 5 hours and 40 minutes, something to go for. Put your money on that. But otherwise, we're going to be going the full Monty. A great field here, 40 cars. We lost one of them, the Randaccio Lucchini, which had a gearbox problem yesterday. A couple of cars crashed in qualifying, but they're all here, they're all repaired, and everyone in top form except this car, David, the Belmondo Golf car, stuck in the pits at the moment. What the problem is there?
I'm not sure what the problem with the Belmondo car is. They certainly had a problem after warm-up this morning, and I think they've had trouble getting it ready, and it wasn't ready in time to get out onto the grid. Now, if you're not ready by a certain time, you close the pit lane, so you cannot then join the back of the grid or take your position on the grid. So they're going to have to start from the pit lane. So what he'll have done is have made sure this car is refueled right to the very top, where all these cars you're looking at now have done one, if not two, warm-up laps, plus this lap to warm their tyres up before the start of the race. So they've used about 3 laps with the fuel already, whereas that Paul Belmondo car sitting in the pits will be right top to the top of the tank with their fuel and ready to go once you go to the pit lane. So while they are starting from the back of the grid or from the pit lane, they will be able to run maybe a couple laps longer than the rest of the people. Somebody else starting from the very back is the team LNT with one of the Panos cars. That's the Lawrence Tomlinson, Richard Dean, Mark Hines car. It had an engine change after the first free practice. They did manage to do qualifying, but qualified at the back of their session. So they've opted to start from the back of the grid, so they qualified very slowly. But they were second quickest, sorry, they were quickest. Their teammates were second quickest in warm-up this morning in the GT2 category. So they're looking to come from the back of the grid all the way through. So that's something to watch for. It's a very bright orange-coloured Panos who will be starting at the back of the grid.
And a hugely heavy circuit this on brakes, David, is as we've been talking about all weekend, this particularly, the Melbourne hairpin.
Yes, you've got some really big stops down the back straight into the chicane we've seen just before, and then into this, the Melbourne hairpin, and you come out of that into another hairpin, the Goddard hairpin, before you come back to the start and finish. But coming around the hairpin now at the back of the pits, you can see on the left-hand side the top of the new pit buildings that they've built, and there's the safety car. It's got the flashing light switched off, so it'll be lining up now 2 by 2 behind that car. When it comes round this last corner of the Goddard, the safety car will pull into the pits, and the rest of the cars will hopefully go slowly down this start and finish straight until the lights turn to green. Once they turn to green, we will be off for the start of the 1,000 Ks at Donington.
So 3 of the top endurance drivers in the world, Jean-Marc Gounon, Stefan Johansson, Emmanuel Collard, the 3 previous winners here. The lights are red, we're waiting for them to go off. As soon as they go off, they're green, and off we go. And Jamie Campbell-Water, great start by him in the creation, into second place, and he's gone ahead of Johansson, Johansson and Gounon. Johansson gets the block, they're all hitting each other, David.
That was 2 of them catching each other. Johansson, I think, caught one of them, half spun the car, managed to keep hold of it. Very difficult first start, but there's the Zytek there, the number 2 car with Johansson on board taking the lead. Right behind that is Gounon with the Courage with JCB sponsorship on the back of it. You can see them all now piling down through the Craner curves. It doesn't take very long before they're all of a sudden up at McLean's into this right-hander here with looks like Jamie Campbell-Walter into 3rd place, and in 4th place is the Pescarolo car number 17.
So Stefan Johansson, the man who made the most of that start in the Zytek, a great start. I was watching Jamie Campbell-Water, who'd already moved into the lead, but Stefan went down the inside of everybody. Now, we've seen Zytek do his blinding starts before, came to grief last year at Petit Le Mans, but this time Stefan's kept it all together. He's ahead of Gounon, he's ahead of Jamie Campbell-Water and Emmanuel Collard. Marcel Fassler, the Swiss Spirit, in 5th place at the moment, and then the Creation, the Courage number 5 car, that's the Swiss Spirit, that's just been pushed back to 6th.
And that's a change to the lead. That's it's not Johansson that's in the Zytek. Johansson qualified. It's actually Hayeki Noda who's actually driving the car. So he didn't qualify, but he is starting the race. And that's the number 5, the Swiss Spirit car, going around in 5th place.
Right, our apologies then to Hideki Noda. That's the guy, of course, who had that great moment at Petit Le Mans last year. Hideki, little Japanese, look, changing all through the field at the moment.
He is. He's now dropped back to 3rd, and that looks like Jamie Campbell-Walter, who's gone up into 2nd. So a change at the front there. We've got the Courage, the Zytek Creation. Yes, that's number 9, Jamie Campbell-Walter. Then the Pescarolo. Then the second Creation of sportive car with Nicholas Benassi on board. And then number 5, that's got Marcel Fassler on board, who's driving the Swiss Spirit car.
Yeah, that car, the Swiss Spirit car, called second at Spa. Great run by them from pole position. As we say, on board with Nick Manassian. You can see the tear-off visor there flapping in the breeze. This is the second of the creation cars. This is the newer of the two cars. There's been a lot of needle between the two teams. Two creation cars, as you told us earlier.
Yeah, one's got a brand new car, Nicola's got a brand new car, number 10. But the only real technical difference between the two cars is actually the differential. And it was only when the company fitted into the second car they realised that there were two different specifications, and it takes 24 hours. It has to be sent away to be changed. It takes 24 hours. They didn't have time to do that for the weekend. So that's the only actual difference between the two cars.
So a long lap here at Donington Park on the full Grand Prix circuit, and they're just coming up now through Goddard to complete it. It's Gounon, it's Noda, it's Campbell, Bouillon, Manassian, Fassler, Kurosara and Tommy Erdos in 8th place. That's where he started from in the RML Lola. Great job by them in the LMP2 car.
Yes, they're doing really well there, but what's really made a difference is the second up of the LMP2 class, which is the Lola, the Bill Binney run car, which has got Sam Hancock on board. They've come up to second in class, right behind the RML Lola of Tommy Erdos. So there's quite a battle there going on just for that, the LMP2 category. We haven't even thought about either GT1 or GT2 yet.
No, we haven't had a look at those. Let's just look down, see where we are. Pedro Lamy then leading in the number 50 Aston Martin from Jerome Polican. No, Ortelli's gone ahead, just gone ahead in the Salim. We're not looking at the moment, but that's the car that was twice put off the track yesterday. Stefan Ortelli really having a struggle getting to grips with Donington. It was wet in the morning, dry in the afternoon, so it's a fairly green circuit here today, David.
Yes, they had that rain when they started yesterday morning, but it dried up. By the time it came to qualifying, it was dry, and so all these times are set as they are now, and bright sunshine. So looking forward to a very close race. We see now still in 4th place that Pescarolo sport car. Now, you've got to remember that car has won the first couple of 3 rounds of this championship, and they were expecting very much to go out and win again. It is a 6-hour race. They don't try and win it, to be honest, in the first couple of laps. They do take the time, settle down and try and work their way up through, but they found it a little more difficult this weekend to be right on the pace of the quickest cars here. So I think they'll be going for the long game, shall we say, with the Pescarolo sport car number 17 currently in 4th place. And the car we're looking at now, that white car with the green bits on the top of it, there we are. And there's a bit of fiberglass or something came off, and it went straight through that board. There's a board at the side of the circuit telling you how many yards it is to the corner. Something came off that car, hit the board and just halved it, just went straight through it, whatever it was that came off.
I suspect, David, that's a legacy from that first corner when everyone was bashing into each other. It'd been flapping around a little bit. It was a front aerodynamic tab, wasn't it? And the speed that came off at, imagine that had gone to the crowd.
Well, down there there's got big fencing and everything to stop people, either cars or parts of cars flying into the crowd. So it's a very safe circuit, Donington Park. It's been around for a long time. They've done a lot of things to know exactly what is needed for safety around this circuit.
Now, is that going to compromise the handling of that car, which Bouillon's on board at the moment?
I'm just looking to see what it was, because on the front of these cars there are little carbon fibre, what we call dive planes. Now we're looking to see what actually is happening here. This is where it sort of came off. Something came off the car, and I'm looking to see what it is. It's picked it up. What he's done, when he's come through one of the corners earlier on, he's picked up one of the marker posts, the little black and white marker post with a red piece at the top. You usually find them on the inside of the corner. It would have been on the inside of that corner there, Redgate. He's picked that up. It's been underneath the car. As he's gone down there, it's come out from underneath the car, and that's what's gone off and half that little board there. You can see that white piece of polystyrene board. All these boards are polystyrene that should anyone run off and hit them, then they will just automatically break and fall apart. Unfortunately, the pitch here we see the number 6 car. This is the Lister Storm with Justin Keane on board. He's sharing that with Jens Moller.
Yeah,
not sure what's happening there. They're taping the front on.
Lawrence Pierce, they're talking to him. They've got a new front end on this car they've been trying out. Lawrence has been playing around with everything this year, and Lawrence said overseeing that going on, but they are bringing out a new car at the end of the season. He's built the tub already. Let's go back to the race.
And there we see, just coming through that chicane, we've seen the Pescarolo Sport right on the tail of the Zytek, trying hard to get past now, and again through the chicane he cut the corner, and that little corner post, those black and white posts that stick up, he knocked another one down. So those are there to keep you on the black stuff. The black stuff is where you should be racing. The green stuff is the pretty bit for everyone to look at, and the posts are to separate the two. They're on the inside of the corners, and these cars now start to cut the corners and across the blue and white curbs, and then onto the green bit where the posts are. And they're trying to use every inch of the circuit. You can see here now as they turn into the corner, there's a black and white post. There it goes, runs over the top of it, over the top of some of the stones on the inside of the curbing as well. So
well, that's the second time the same car has hit one of those posts. And we saw this yesterday. One of the Japanese Courages actually had this post, sharp end on, jammed into the front of the tub during qualifying.
They do actually make quite a mess of the car, but I'm sure they'll survive.
Lap 14, and this is the lead battle here at Donington Park, 1,000 kilometres. Jamie Campbell-Water of Britain climbing all over the back of France's Jean-Marc Gounon for the lead. Well, this is absolutely fabulous stuff. We are only 30 minutes into the race, and we're still fighting like dogs up at the front. This is more like a Formula Ford race, David.
Yeah, I can see the times. They're very little in it between these two cars. They are nose to tail. And the big difference is going to be when they get past. Now you can see that one car is going to get past the Corvette, the other one doesn't. And this is what's going to happen during the race. It's going to ebb and flow. And he didn't get past. Jamie didn't get past that Corvette into that corner. He will do before he turns left up here. He didn't. Now he's got to try and go around the outside. Eventually, that's 3 corners that Grace non-sportive car took to get past the Corvette. And you know, the Corvette's got its own race. You can't say that, you know, he did anything wrong. He's getting on with his own race. He's taking his own racing line, and that's what you're told to do when you're in the slower category cars. The officials say, if you stick to your racing line, these other guys will get past you. Now they're going past that Corvette. Is the number 10 car with Nicolas Manassian. That's the 3rd place car on the circuit, and that's the second of the Croatian autosportive cars. And here we see them going past number 50. That's the lead car in the LMGT1 category with Pedro Lamy on board. That's the Aston Martin. So now the big cars, LMP1 cars, have got through all of the smaller category cars with the exception of LMP2s, and the leading LMP2 is actually in 6th place overall, only 13 seconds behind this battle for the top category LMP1. Now let me explain to you what all this means. There are 4 categories in this race. These cars we're looking at now, the big cars, the faster cars, LMP1s. There's the LMP2 cars, slightly smaller, not so much in size, but smaller in power and a little bit lighter in weight. So they're not quite as quick because they don't have as much power, but they have an advantage because they're not quite as heavy. This Stuart Mosley driven Radical is one of the LMP2 cars we're just talking about. On top of that, we then go down to the GT2 cars, which is the Aston Martins, the Corvettes, and the Ferrari 550, which are the enclosed cars. And then the GT2 category is the Porsches, the Panos Esperantes, the Ferrari 430 GTs, the Spiker C8s that we haven't seen yet. And we are looking forward to seeing them, because one of those cars, the number 86 car, has got Tom Cornell and Peter Drumbrecht driving, and that should really be an exciting car in that particular category. There's one there, one of these silver and orange cars, the 85 car. That's one of the Spikers.
Well, we're about to go down to Richard Barnes in the pit, see who's got to talk to us, but here's the lead battle. Isn't it fantastic? Look at this. Jamie's right back with Jean-Marc now. These two absolutely fighting their hearts out here around Donington. Jamie wants to get that car in the lead, so at least they can say they've done it. He's on the inside. Jean-Marc blocks him, pushes him on the grass. Not a nice move, that. Do that once and once only.
That's right, that's what it says in the book, in the rule book. It says you can have one defending move in any one straight, and you have to say that was a very big defending move, because Jamie was on his way past when he was put on the grass there by the leader. Now then, he's done that once. He will not be able to do it a second time without the officials having a little word with him. It may be that he gets a stop and go penalty and he comes in. Now, concentrating back on the car number 17 we were talking about earlier on, the Bouillon-driven Pescarolo is still running.
An incredible fight happening up in the forward places, and you're looking very well placed at the moment.
It's a long race to go, you know. There's a lot to come yet. We're P3, P2. Jamie's having a real crack at Jean-Marc at the moment. I'm sure Jean-Marc will play fair. I know his tyres are going to give out eventually. These Michelins are going to kick in a minute. They're really going to go. Just a few more laps, and I think you see the two creation cars really start going on it.
Now, you've got a bit of a smile, but the eyes are looking rather tired, as we were just saying.
It's been a difficult 3 weeks. It's the first time we've run 2 cars this year. So far we've had quite a good debut with it. Everything's going very well. It's a long way to go, huh? Let's see what happens.
Thanks very much. He just got through into first place, by the way.
And about
the P1.
It's gone to P1. Well, I just hope Nicola now can get on there and make it 1-2. Let's see how we go.
Well, amazing stuff, David. As we're talking to Ian Bickerton, through they go into the lead and about to take second as well.
That's right. Nicholas Manassian was trying to take second place away, and he got put onto the grass. So Mr. Gounon just really trying his hardest to stay out there. And you heard the difference there. Ian Bickerton say what the difference was. The difference in tyres. The first car here, car number 12, was or is on Yokohama tyres, and the 2 Creation Autosportive cars are on Michelin tyres. And there's a big difference in tyres between all the people out here, because there is, there we are, we see Nicholas saying, that's what I think of you, and got himself past. So somebody's obviously upset him, he's trying to get past, but everybody's got their own race out there, you know, everybody's going with it. Oh, and that's the other Courage car, number 13, the sister car to the car that had been leading at the start of this race, has got a problem.
Yeah, this is the 13, as you say, but no, this is the Kurosawa car, the Advan car, crewed by the 2 Japanese. Number 13, of course, always Yves Courage's favoured number at the Le Mans 24 Hours. He's still moving, so he's going to try and get into the pits. I think he's going to cut out the whole Melbourne section, isn't he, and see where he's going to finish up.
I don't think they know how to do that in actual fact, so he'll end up going around the whole section, but he's obviously got a problem there. But you can see now we've got Nicholas right behind his teammate Jamie Campbell-Walter. So look and see there, yes, they are first and second now, the 2 Creation Autosportive cars, and further back is the number 12 car that had been leading the Courage. And now you see him trying to get through. See one side here, he went to go to the outside, went to go to the inside, trying to make his mind up which way to go to get round. And you really have to make your mind up and go, and be careful, because if you go the wrong way and the guy moves over on you, then all of a sudden you're out.
So a great afternoon here for Creation. I don't think even they expected bringing 2 cars here that 40 minutes into the race they would be 1 and 2 here at Donington Park. That is great stuff. Marcel Fastner's just gone by Gounon as well, so Fastner, the Swiss Spirit, has gone by. I think what Ian Bickerton said is quite right. Those Yokohamas have just gone off, haven't they?
That's right. I think they've had the best out of them, and certainly, you know, different tyre manufacturers' tyres work in different ways, and we've got a variety of tyre manufacturers out there. We've got Michelin, we've got Yokohama, as we spoke about, we've also got Dunlop, we've got Pirelli, and we've got one car, the Cruise Motorsport car, number 44 in LMP2 class, on the Kumo tyre. It's the only one out there at Kumo's, but it's there nevertheless.
Well, big moment for Manasseh as he came out of Melbourne hairpin, then got the car all over the curbs. Maybe we'll see that again. There's one of the panels. Those cars well up. They're racing at Brands Hatch as well today in the British GT Championship, where they're starting from pole position.
That's right. That team have got half their team down at Brands Hatch, well, 1/3 of the team at Brands Hatch, and 2/3 of the team here at London Park. So they've got a very busy weekend this weekend. So they're looking forward to try and getting themselves up and trying to work out where they are in their own category. They are in 3rd place in LMP2 behind 2 of the Ferrari F430s.
Right, we just talk about Yokohama tyres. Of course, Marcel Fastner is also on Yokohamas in this Swiss Spirit car. So, no, is that wrong?
No, he's not. He's on Michelin's.
He's on Michelin, right, okay. We've got that one wrong. So Marcel Fastner with the Courage, number 5 car in 3rd place. Gounon fading. Mixed messages still about Pescarolo. They are still running. So I think, David, you were quite right. That was not a black flag, as the screen told us, but it was another stop-go penalty. Bouillon now down into 9th place, 25.7 seconds behind the race leader.
Yes, I think to have lost only 25 seconds on the race leader when you had a stop-go penalty in the pits, he's doing rather well. So I know he will be travelling. In fact, the last lap he had was the fastest lap of that particular lap, not the fastest lap of the race, but he did a 1:24, where the leaders are doing a 1:25. So he very much is pushing hard further back, but as we said, it's a 1,000-kilometre race, so he's got lots of time in order to try and get himself back up to try and get himself onto the lead again and try and win this race and try and make it 4 out of 4. He's had 3 wins so far in the championship. This is the 4th race. He very much wants to win without anybody else winning in the championship. That's his ideal, and not a good start. There we see in the pits the number 13 finally made it back. They're taking the back bodywork off to have a look in the engine compartment. The man's already there with the laptop plugged in. There's a second laptop right behind him, probably getting plugged into somewhere else to try and find even more data to find out what's going on with either the car, the chassis, the engine or the gearbox.
Well, we are now 22 laps into the race. Jamie Campbell-Water, Nick Manassian, 1-2 for creation. Back after the break.
Advan, Yokohama.
That's Stefan Johansson, and on board the Zytek is now in 2nd place, gone ahead of Didier Andre. David, when Didier Andre was put in the car for the second driver change, he's going to do the middle section. You were saying that this is Andre's chance to find out if he's quick or slow. Well, he's going backwards at the moment. Is he being overcautious?
I think he's probably being overcautious. You're saying in the car that's won the first 3 rounds, looking to try and win this round. You've seen how fast it was in the first stint with Bullion on board, because he had a drive-through penalty, was able to come back from that, from like 17th place, was able to come back up into the lead of the race quite comfortably. So if you're out there, the last thing you want to do is do damage to the car, but then again you can be too careful, and it looks like he's being too careful, and in doing so that Stefan Johansson here has got the Zytek car back up into 2nd place overall, and he certainly is the quickest man on the circuit at the moment. He's just done a 1:22 on that last lap, is Stefan Johansson.
Well, there is the gap,
and he's very much catching
there it is,
McGarity, because McGarity is now in the middle of that group of cars, just got past the Panos, trying to get past one of the Astons, I think it is, and bearing down right behind him, right on his tail, past him now, because he was too careful with the Aston that was in front, and that's a change for the overall lead. Stefan Johansson using his experience, straight past, didn't wait for him to think about that Aston, and Kevin McGarity just thinking way too much, taking his time, trying to bring the car back in one piece, and in doing so is being just a bit too cautious. Stefan Johansson, using all of that experience, just says, thank you very much, I'll have that now, I'm on a charge, straight past, didn't halt, caught and passed the cars ever so quickly, and he's pulled himself out 2 or 3 seconds within half a lap.
Well, the Swedish driver really is a man on the mission. When I was talking to him this morning, and he said he just loved being back here. He loves Donington, he loves this type of racing, and of course he's racing in America as well. He's racing in the Grand Am Rolex series. Guy's not young. I mean, he's now 40 years old, and he's just still loving motors. 50 years old, I'm sorry, I'm giving him too much. Not long had his 50th birthday, and Stefan really a man on a mission, and he wanted that pole position. He couldn't have it. He won here in 1997 driving the US TWR Porsche, and here he is back out in front. But Didier Andre dropping back again, 6 seconds he's now back, and I'm sure that Henri will be giving him a can you not go a little bit faster please sign soon, because that's slipping away from them.
It is. I think that's what will be happening. They'll be saying step it up, try a bit harder, do what you need to do, but don't fall off. Whatever you do, you must not fall off. You just lose so much time if that happens. And now we see the Zytek first creation, second Pescarolo third, Courage number 12 with Gregor Fiskin fourth, and fifth overall was the number 22 Roll Centre with Martin Short on board. So that's great for Martin Short in his little Radical. I keep just calling it a little Radical. The Radical people don't like me calling it a little Radical, but it's still a little car, whichever way you look at it.
It's a bit radical, not little radical.
It's very radical.
Well, interestingly, over this weekend, Radical have been racing here as well. Colin McRae racing.
Yes, Colin was. He's actually bought a Radical car for the road, a little SR3 for the road, and that was his contact with the Radical Car Company, and they said, "Oh, would you like to race one of our cars?" And he said, "Oh, that'd be lovely." So he hopped himself in this weekend. There was a race earlier this morning and also one yesterday for the Radicals. He had managed to get himself in the lead of both races before he had problems with the car. So unfortunately he didn't do as well as he was hoped, but certainly he's very buoyed by his experience.
Richard Barnes is down in the pits. Who's he going to be waiting to talk to this time?
Trevor Foster, the car's just passed into first position, obviously feeling very happy about how things are going.
Yes, we had a bit of an issue in the first stint with Harry driving the car. He had a spin, lost a bit of time, damaged the tyres, so we decided to change the tyres early and do a driver change and get Stefan out and try and make up some lost ground. So we're just about to swap again now, back to Harry, and see if we can keep up the momentum.
Trevor, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, Trevor's probably got quite a lot to say, so he didn't this time. But he's been delighted with their progress this weekend. I mean, it's such a big thing, isn't it, to come here, your home race, and another car there, yellow's flying. Coming here to your home race, there's a lot of pressure on you. Everyone's watching. You're going to have a lot of guests here. You've only got to look at RML to see that, and you want to do well in front of all your sponsors.
That's right, without doubt. And you can see just how crowded this circuit is as they're all filing through that chicane one after the other. And there is Stefan trying at the back of that, trying to get himself through. But Hayuki Noda, as we call him, and you heard Trevor Foster there calling him Harry. Obviously, that when he's working with the guys in their team, they thought that's far too difficult to pronounce. We'll just call you Harry, it's much easier. He starts with a H, the same as his name. What more can you ask for?
There was a guy in the Rotax karting series, a Japanese, called Junpei Takanamaki, and everyone calls him Takimak. I mean, he loves it. He's now known in Japan as Takimak. As you say, it's a sort of pet thing they have in racing, and you are a family, you live together, you're at circus, you go from circuit to circuit, you're all on top of each other the whole time, so you have to have a bit of fun doing it, don't you?
Everyone in motorsport has nicknames. I joined the team a couple of years ago, and it took me about 18 months to learn the chief mechanic's first name. Everyone called him Lugs for obvious reason, and the whole team has just got nicknames all the way through, and it's the same in every area of motorsport, and obviously it's the same here in sports cars. So Harry will be getting back into car number 2 when Stefan gets out fairly shortly, as we heard the team boss say.
That's the little pill being put down another lap there by our race leaders, Johansson, McGarity, and Andre. Well, he's speeded up now. Andre's now got to within 4.9 seconds of McGarity, so he's obviously had the speed up signal. Perhaps Andre just wanted Didier to be a bit cool in the opening laps, his opening stint, and then okay, now it's time to speed up.
Well, that's certainly what happened at the beginning of the race when you've seen Jean-Christophe in the car to start with. He was very cautious for the first 4 or 5 laps before he started going, but you can see now also Kevin McGarity has moved his pace up a little bit as well. But the times do vary tremendously depending on exactly how much traffic you see. But right in front you can see the lead car. This is Kevin McGarity in the Croatian Autosportive car, now in second place overall, and he's right behind. He's not far. It's not as though that once Stefan caught and passed him, he moved away quickly, but then Kevin definitely got into stride and said, hang on, I need to hang on to the back of this car. This is where the race is, and I'm in this race to try and win it, so therefore I need to be right with him. So he's obviously pushing the car on a little bit and managing very nicely indeed to hang on to the back of Stefan.
Yeah, Stefan putting a real wheel off there, and you don't want to do that too often, do you? But I noticed yesterday watching qualifying, there is now a huge earth gully that's been dug out on the outside of that curve. If you get a wheel over that, you could be history.
It is very dusty and dirty once you get on the outside of that curve, but there's a nice piece of curb on the outside of that corner to run onto. And I think when the touring cars come here, they spend most of their time on the dirt rather than actually on the curb or actually on the tarmac, which is always a problem. But you can see Kevin now very much pushing hard, starting to lock brakes up. We've seen him the lap before lock a brake up as well, so he lost quite a bit of time in that chicane there, having a little bit of a wobble with the wheels. Here it is from another angle. It's coming. You can see it locking up on the way, and we did see him lock up, and I reckon he missed that apex, did he? Yes, completely missed the apex. Look at that gravel. Now he's on that gravel, ever so slippy. He's really got to be very cautious, then take a very difficult line. And he's got it wrong at Goddard, and all of a sudden now he's lost 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah, but you can imagine how much gravel he picked up. And I think we have to recall that corner Hancock's, not Fogarty's now.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
He must have so much gravel in those tyres.
But in those 2 corners, he's managed to lose 7 seconds on the leader. The first one, he simply got a brake locked up, went onto the gravel, got himself some dirt on the tyres, got to the next hairpin, also got it wrong. And then all of a sudden he's losing a lot of time. He needs to calm down, give himself a lap to sort himself out. But not far behind him now, of course, is this car, the number 17 car, the Pescarolo Sport with Didier Andre on board. Just coming up to lap the number 19 car. Who's on board the 19 car now? The owner, Peter Owen. Peter, very much a gentleman driver. He'll move nicely out of the way for anybody and everybody who wants to come past him. But he owns that car, the number 19 Lola LMP1 car, run by Chamberlain Synergy. Bob Berridge, who's in charge of that team down there, and drives for the car also. Bob is the quickest of the 3 drivers in that car. He started the car, and they've had the other 2 drivers in, and I think Bob will get back in fairly shortly to take over from Peter again.
So if you're just joining us on Motors, it's Stefan Johansson leading for Zytek from Patsy McGarity. Sorry, let's get this right. Kevin McGarity. My goodness, I'm living in the past. Kevin McGarity for Creation. British cars first and second this afternoon, and how good is that for British sports car fans? Pescarolo third for Andreas Johansson. Goes into the pits. Here he is. Driver change. Back to Harry Noda.
Yes, and we've seen what Trevor Foster said about that. Yeah, we'll just lean on the refueler's head and push it down into the refueling hosel. That'll help the refueler tremendously, that will. And in goes Harry with his... I wonder what that black thing in his hand is. It's a very large bladder that he'll put water or a drink mixture into for him to drink while he's actually racing round. So they expect him to be in, I would think, for 2 stints. He's going to need that much fluid, certainly. Now the refueling's done, up goes the car onto the air jacks. They'll start to do the tyre change, and while they're doing that, Stefan Johansson will help Noda in with his belt. That's why Noda suddenly lifted his hands up in the air so that Stefan can get hold of the belt. The sticker on the top of his helmet was in actual fact the bit for the radio for the contact, and he says, oh yeah, ready to go, but I've got no steering wheel. Oh yeah, the steering wheel's there. There we are. Hand that to the driver. Switch it all on. Yeah, got it started. Yeah, very slow pit stop. Long time in setting off. He should have been able, when that car went onto the ground, he really should have been able, ready to go. And that's a difference between most of the teams and this team, the car we're looking at now, the Pescarolo sport car. It is, when it comes into the pits, they have superb pits. They just stop, change tyres, refuel, do everything, and the driver's sitting there ready to go whenever the car goes on the ground. And the car does go on the ground very, very quickly indeed.
So Patsy McGarity now leading Didier Pescarolo. We're going to take a break on Motors. Be back soon.
Because of this, he was pulled up on this, and there was a cutting in one of the newspapers or magazines at the time that pointed out that there was going to be this new circuit in the Tring-Ivanhoe area, which should please Mr. Birkin, also Henry Birkin, I should say. Of course, never happened.
All right, we have to look into that, because I've been asked by one of the new museum at Tring to put together all the Tring racing drivers, a huge amount of them. There's Clement, who was the first of the Bentley boys, lived off at Le Mans, and then of course Sterling Moss and Pat Moss, Frank Lockhart, a lot of people there. So it's been great researching it. But your book's fabulous. I love the pictures in your book. Many of them I've never seen before.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, particularly of some of the in the cost chapter. There's some interesting picture there, isn't there?
Oh, well, Mr. Leslie sort of praying towards the car. Yes.
Luckily, David's not actually on the microphone at the moment. He's just playing around with the air conditioning in here. But great to be back here at Donington. First 1,000-kilometre race they've had, and good to have you here, Ian. So
thank you, Mark.
People can get the book at all the normal bookshops.
Yes, I mean, it's available in Waterstone's major branches, can be got on Amazon, and also obviously specialist bookshops like Chater's and Horton's.
Perfect. And the title is?
Simply The British at Le Mans.
Well done.
We couldn't think of anything else.
Ian Wagstaff, thank you very much for joining us. And let's hope we see a British victory this afternoon.
Indeed.
If we're going to be jingoistic.
Indeed, Mark. Thanks very much.
So there we are, Ian Wagstaff then telling us about this fascinating new book on British drivers. Those of you who are British obviously would love to get hold of that. I shall certainly be looking for one. Didier Andre then leading for Pescarolo at the moment, and he's got a 1-lap lead over Hideki Noda. As we look at just coming out of the pits, the car that was leading in GT1, that's the Luc Alphand Aventure car. That's the car of Alphand on board now. Yes, he has still come out as leader, and he's got a good lead over the Celine of Soyo Ayari. Had some problems earlier, David.
Yes, they had 1 or 2 problems with the Celine, but this car has been running faultlessly all afternoon, and I have to say they're doing a superb job out there. I've just come out of the pitch, we're waiting to see until they finish their next lap exactly what position they're in. Our timing scoring will not actually update itself until they complete the next lap. We'll see where they see the Celine. I've got a funny feeling the Celine will be in front, yet when it comes round, it's just past the start and finish and moved up into first place in class with Ayari on board now. That car started with Ortelli on board, but when you look at it closely from the rear, as we did going through that corner there, the whole rear splitter, the back part of the car, where it comes up, all those fins at the back of the car was vibrating very, very badly indeed. So this car, we're looking at the inside of the Corvette number 72 car, with their recall font on board. I think maybe able to take that lead back in the future. But here's the Panos.
Yeah, still leading. No, not quite leading LMP2. Karim, no, got that's LMP3. So GT2.
Yeah.
Still the panels of Hughes
And Warren Bell and Robert Bell and
16th overall.
And it looks like a driver change, but I have to say it didn't look like Warren used his helmet. I know Warren used his helmet. Maybe I know it's better from the side than from the front, and I can't remember that great big yellow bit at the front, but certainly Robert Bell had been in it. So if there's a driver change, I would think more than likely Warren will be getting back into it. I think it is about time he got back into that car. So the afternoon working well for them.
Luca Drudi, will he go through into the lead temporarily? He's only made 2 stops. This is the
Yes, I believe he will. He'll take that lead in the LM and the GT2 category. So there we see, there it is. He has taken the lead. Number 97's first, 81 LNT second, 76 the Autolanda car we've seen spinning earlier on. And then the Farnbacher car coming up to fourth with the Virgo car, the number 99 car in 5th place with that was Dan Ealing and Tim Sugden. We've seen that car spun earlier on with Dan Ealing on board, and I think that's where they lost all of their time, because they certainly were either first or second early on.
Yeah, this team, of course, with the Rosa brothers, they won the Daytona 24 hours GT category back in around 2000. Luca Drudi, those tended to avoid the long distance races. He hasn't done Le Mans, and well, not for some years, didn't do it this year, but he's always been up front with the JB Gaser team and their Ferraris. It's 430 GT, which is now the workhorse of GT cars. We're going down to the pits. Not sure who Richard Barnes has got hold of at the moment. It's always nice to have a surprise, isn't it?
It is rather, isn't it? At the moment, that's what it is today. So once we get down to the pitch, we'll find out who's talking about it. But there we see some of the guests.
Warren Hughes back into the pits after a great stint, and still P1. Obviously feeling very happy with the way the car's going.
Yeah, the car's pretty good. It's very easy to drive. You can drive, you know, at a good pace without taking risks. You know, there's both myself and Rob, we seem to be able to get into a good rhythm very quickly. So, you know, the car's going well. So we've just got to make sure we keep out of trouble, I think.
Donington also a track that you like very well, as we were talking about before.
Yeah, I mean, I love it here, obviously on home ground for us, but the Grand Prix circuit we don't use very often, so you know, we've tested with the car here pre-season, but on the short circuit, so the long circuit presents a few of its own characteristics that you have to adapt to, and you know, but so far so good. I mean, there's a long way to go, but it's looking very promising.
Thanks very much, Warren.
Well, Warren Hughes and Robert Bell obviously changing every time they come in, because these closed cars that we're looking inside now get very, very warm indeed inside there. That's why you see people getting in with drinks bottles, and I think there's a couple of them actually have cool suits fitted to the inside of them, whereby you plug yourself into what is basically a small refrigerator, and that keeps some cool fluid running around the inside of your race suit. It's like a vest that you put on that's got various veins in it to run cold water through. So that helps keep some of the drivers cool as well in these enclosed cars. So much more hotter work for the enclosed cars than it is for the LMP1, LMP2 cars with no top on them, where you can have the breeze of the day going over the top.
Back in. They've only just been in the pits. They're going to be pushed back in. So big problems for our GT1 leader. That's going to put the car we've just been riding on board with, the Alfan car, back into the lead.
Now this will be, you know, these guys can turn these cars around very quickly. I looked in this pit lane just before the start of the race, and just to the right hand side as you go in, there's some drawers, there just to the right hand side where you see their boss standing, and in there's various trays. Now if they have a problem with a car, if it's an alternator you pick up a particular tray, if it's brakes you pick up a different tray, if it's engine you pick up a different tray, and each tray's got a set of spanners in just to do that particular job. So they have learned from when they ran the Audis at Le Mans how to really set the car up ready to do work on it, to do the work very quickly indeed. But I did also say that last time we watched that car from the outside, the Selena 7 number 55, which got pushed back into the pits, that the rear diffuser, that black thing at the back underneath with all the little veins sticking out the bottom that help to keep the air on a straight line as it comes out the back of the car, was vibrating tremendously. So there obviously was a bad vibration on the car somewhere, and maybe it's that they've taken it back into the garage to try and fix.
Peter Schoenack, of course, as you say, not only running the Audis at Le Mans, but then years of running Vipers, very successfully winning classes at Le Mans at the Daytona 24 Hours, outright, of course, with their Viper. That was something. Here's the number 50 car. We haven't seen much of that lately, the Aston Martin, the green one, not the grey one of Team Modena. This car, the Labra car, running second in class now because Soel Ayares has been pushed into the garage, and we're looking at...
but you're saying it's second, it's only 7, look at that, 7 seconds behind. Yeah. That's all it is. So we are so far, with 3 hours into this race, basically halfway, and 249 laps is the race distance. We've done 118, which is a fraction over. 49, no, we're just under half distance, and you know, they are just only 7 seconds apart after all this racing.
Well, let's go down to the Oreca garage, see what that problem is. See if you're right, David, about the vibration of the diffusers.
Now, while we're trying to wait to go down to the garage, we're following the car number 50, which is now second in category. In this car, 75, one of the Porsches. 75 is the Terry Pierre car, with Nigel Smith, Anthony Beltoise and Philippe Hosselet on board, and obviously they've got it's Nigel Smith that's driving at the moment, and he's got a major problem with that car, and he's just in a really dangerous position on the exit of that corner. Obviously, oh, somebody's had to go to the outside of him. That looked as though it was the little radical that's arrived at the corner very quickly. Now, there are waved yellow flags to say there is a problem ahead. Oh, that was the Binny car going the other side as well. So people are obviously not taking note of those waved yellow flags to see what's going on, but whatever.
What is the problem?
I think there is 2 problems. One is the flat bottom. We have a problem with the rear diffuser, and the second could be perhaps an engine problem at the same time. So we have just to check now.
How long do you think that will take?
I hope very short.
Luke, thanks very much.
Well, David, what can you say?
I must be good, mustn't I?
But let's just go back for a moment, back down to Starkers and watching those cars going either side of this. Now, surely the stewards are going to be looking at that. Yellow flags and cars passing him either side, some on the grass.
Yeah, the guy was as far to the side of the circuit as he could possibly get. I would take an educated guess he's probably broken a throttle cable like car 13 had earlier on, and he's on a sort of like get you home mode whereby it's on tick over. He leaves it in first gear on tick over, and it will run at that speed until he gets it back. Now, unfortunately, he wasn't very far into the lap when that happened, so he's got a long way to go before he can actually get this car back to the pit. So he's going to be in a dangerous position all the way around until he gets back there.
Yeah, we saw this at Le Mans from time to time, David, didn't we, where people had to get back on idle. Prototypes as well. Here we are, look at this. There's that big earth rut I was talking about earlier on the other side of the curb. There goes, was it
Barazzi?
Yes, the Barazzi.
Epsilon car.
And earlier we'd seen someone else do that, so it'd be interesting to see what penalties come out of that. Well, we're going to take a short break. We'll come back. Hopefully Nigel Smith might have made it back to the pits.
Advan, Yokohama.
And carrying on, this is the battle for the lead, and we thought once Emmanuel Collard had caught and passed Heikki Noda with his Zytek, that would be the end of it. It would stretch away from him, but it wasn't. Straight away, Noda came back at him down at the Goddard hairpin, and since then, Emmanuel Collard's had to sit behind him. So I don't know how much longer that's going to happen for. I think looking for maybe a break in the traffic or whatever to try and take that position away, but Heikki Noda certainly a little bit lax at the beginning of the race when he first started. The first stint he had, he really wasn't putting in the times. There was 1 or 2 problems, not sure what it was, but certainly in this stint he really has got himself into the right gear and doing a very good job indeed, and going quickly. I mean, the last lap round they were both doing a 1:22, and Heikki Noda with the Zytek, the fastest lap of the race, is a 22:1. So you know, these two guys putting in very quick, very sterling performances here at the moment.
Yeah, that's very interesting, isn't it? The Zytek is, of course, Zytek engined, all the cars stacked up behind it. Judd engine. There's eight Judd engine cars here today, and that's been the real mainstay of sports car racing the last few years, including the Pescarolo. But John Judd of Engine Development, which is what Judd is now known as, they've announced a 5.5 litre LMP1 engine for next year, and it's going to be based on this current engine. We're looking at the Pescarolo, the V10, so it's an Evo of the 5 litre. It just shows what a strong state sports car racing's in. We've heard a lot about new chassis coming. Lister, Protran, a lot of these teams are all doing new chassis for next year, even though they know in 2010 that we're going to be going to closed roof coupes in prototype racing.
That's right, but you know, it's a long time between now and 2010. You've got another 2 or 3 years worth of racing to do, and that's generally about the lifetime of a racing car, is 2 or 3 years, certainly in this category of car. And you know, by that time the car is fairly out of date, and something new's come along will be overtaking it. So if you can build a new car now and it will last for 3 years, then I think that's a reasonable time you can expect to get life out of a racing car at this level of international motorsport.
Well, while this battle's going on, what we haven't been seeing is what's happening in LMP2. At the moment, just having a look up the list, well, it is still the radical Rob Barth now on board, the man that Martin Short's brought in for this weekend to join him and Juan Barber. They're still leading, and right behind them is Tommy Erdos in the MG Lola, and just waiting to see what the difference is. It's probably something like a minute at the moment. So Tommy Erdos in their RML car. Incidentally, Ray Mallet Racing, the sad week for them, because one of the team's mainstays, Crichton Brown, he died of cancer, unfortunately, this week. Crichton Brown was the man who really helped Ray Mallet out a lot in the early days. They used to race Clubman's cars together. Crichton was one of the main Mallet U2 purchasers. He then formed Ardmore Racing, and they ran Ray Mallet in Formula 2. Ardmore is a mountain in New Zealand. Crichton running a big company called Canberra Pigs, and he used to use that sponsorship himself. Anyway, Crichton went on to join McLaren. Him and Ron Dennis became partners, bought out McLaren from the McLaren family, and Crichton was the man who got together with McLaren and decided to go ahead with the McLaren F1 GTR. He then gave up racing after some years, sold up his interest in McLaren, but very sadly, after having moved to Brazil, just died of cancer. So he's been very sadly missed by that team and by McLaren. Yeah, a little bit of a shove and push here.
I can see just how close it's getting for the lead, because it looked as though that Manuel Collard with that Pescarolo car really was right underneath and actually touching the back of the Zytek number 2 car with Hayeki Noda on board, and that really are pushing hard. Emmanuel, I think, thought he could catch and pass and disappear from this car very quickly, but the lap times they're putting in, as I was saying earlier, very, very quick indeed. It was a 1:23 minute lap, the last lap for both of these guys, and that, believe me, is a lot faster than anybody else that's out there. I think the next nearest one is a 24. Jimmy Campbell-Walters back in the number 9 car, the Creation Autosportive car. Unfortunately, they're 3 laps down on the lead 3 cars. 3 cars on the lead lap. These 2, plus Kevin McGarrity in the number 10 Creation Autosportive car, which is the car he's sharing with Nicholas Benassian. Now, when he comes back in, which I think will be fairly soon, then that'll be getting Nicholas Benassian back on board.
Yves Courage, we've got the car back in the pit here. What seems to have happened?
Là, pour l'instant, c'est suite à un accrochage avec une GT. On a dû remplacer une partie de l'avant et une partie de l'arrière, notamment le diffuseur.
Okay, so the front and rear has been replaced after a tangle with a GT car. This seems to be part of the race. On voit ça beaucoup dans la course aujourd'hui.
Oui, parce que c'est un circuit qui a peu de visibilité et maintenant les voitures vont vraiment très très vite. Et c'est un petit peu inévitable, il y a quand même beaucoup de voitures en même temps sur la piste avec des différences de vitesse importantes, donc je pense que c'est inévitable.
Yves, thanks very much. Yves, just saying that this is quite inevitable as the track's very narrow and a lot of blind points, and the traffic is very heavy. Yves, thanks very much. Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, we did say, you know, all through this race how difficult it is to overtake with all the different speeds of the cars, how narrow the circuit is, and you know how busy it is out there with 40 cars on the circuit. But that car number 12 is the one car that's had more trouble than anybody else in running into people, doing damage and having those sort of hassles and problems. These cars that are first and second, and even the car, little black car with the green top on it right behind, which is first in its class, and now 5th overall, the LMP2 car, the Roll Centre Radical. These cars have not had problems. They've not had to come in and change the front and change the rear, but you know, it just depends upon how you look at the race and how you look after it, and how careful you are, or just how aggressive you are when you're out there.
Our GT2 second, Vincent Voss, has just gone into the pits to hand over the Aston Martin, so that looks like it's going to play into the hands of the Corvette. Gouslard will go past him, I guess, in a half a lap's time. Patrice Gouslard in the car, by the way, not Jerome Policam, whether or not they'll run until the last hour and then put Jerome in for the dash for cash right at the end. Be interesting to see that one, but certainly this man, Manu Collard, looks like he's in this car for the rest of the race.
Yes, I would say definitely he's in the car for the rest of the race, and but he will have another pit stop. Now we can see smoke down below us, just where that camera was, there was smoke coming up down below us. Somebody has gone off up at Coppage, we're not sure who it is. We did see yellow flags at Marshall Post 17. Marshall Post 17 is at Coppage Corners, just over the top. So as you're coming up here now to this right-hander, just over the top of this hill, somebody's off on the left-hand side. That's the yellow flag. There's the car on the left-hand side. There's 2 cars off, and we're not sure which of those 2 cars are. We'd very much like the camera to pan round and have a look and see which of those cars are actually sitting in that gravel, because the yellow flags have been waved furiously, so it means no one can overtake until they're out of that corner halfway down the straight before you get to the green flag, because the green flag is quite a way down, just before the bridge in actual fact, after that corner.
Perhaps they've sneaked in right under the guns of our camera, and the cameraman can't get enough depression down for that. Here is the Aston, the Lara Aston Martin. This is the car that Vincent Voss has done such a good job in all afternoon. Now, according to the timing scoring, he's staying on board it. Would make sense, wouldn't it? Because he's now really hooked into this car. Down the Dunlop straight it goes, and still no sign of what happened at Coppice Corner. We would like to know, please, Mr. Director, if you're listening to us. Good job, by the way, by Samipa Productions this afternoon. They're doing the Le Mans coverage, and they'll bring you these pictures. Just have a think for the cameramen outside all around the circuit. They've been there since about 12 o'clock this afternoon, out in the sunshine, the wind. It's now coming up to 5 o'clock. What a long day for them.
It is a very long day indeed, but I'm sure it'll be worth it at the end of the day, because it has been a superb race. There really are races all the way through for the lead of the various different categories and the lead overall, and this is what we're watching now. There's Itech number 2 car, followed by the Pescarolo number 17 car, and you've got Heikki Noda driving the first one, and Emmanuel Collard driving the second one there, and battling first and second, and only 50 seconds behind you've got Kevin McGarrity in the Creation Autosportive car, which should be coming in sometime soon, and that will go back out with Nicholas Manassian in, I'm fairly sure, to finish the day off. But there in front you can see the Panos car, the number 81 car. That's a car still leading the GT2 category. They've done a fantastic job. I really am very impressed with those guys today. They've done a super job. Warren Hughes currently in the car. He's sharing that car with Rob Bell, and they're doing a great job out there, and really taking the race all the way to the Porsches. Normally they're sort of somewhere behind and they go for reliability rather than for outright speed, but here this weekend they've shown a really good turn of speed. Both cars did. Unfortunately, the second car, Lawrence Thomas and Richard Dean car, and Mark Hines car, had a problem and didn't finish.
Yeah, and in the moment that car, that Warren Hughes car, has got 33 seconds over the factory-backed Orlando Porsche of Joe Camathias, and just 37 seconds over Montemini in the JB Ferrari 340. So this is a lot to play for in this. Here's Luke Alfan then coming up behind the Rosa car. That's the Rosa Ferrari.
And one of the Porsches off on the outside.
Yeah. Was that one of the Orlando cars?
That'll be more cars coming onto the gravel.
Back into the pits after what was a grueling battle there. Did you expect Luke Alfon to be putting in such a fight?
No, I mean, yeah, the Corvette seems to be very, very quick, and Luke did a very good job. Actually, our car is not so easy to drive. It's not the only reason we have some brake problem over the curb, and yeah, we have to do with it, and I think we have to push till the end now.
Okay, now I know this is not the first time you've raced at Donington, but is it the first time you've raced here without rain?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a nice place to have some brake problem, but okay. We have to do it with it. It's not that bad. And yeah, Pedro is going to do a good job as usual.
How do you find the conditions on the track?
Well, it's not really a track where you can have GT2, GT1 and MP2 and MP1. It's not so easy to pass, and when you have a fast GT2 in the downhill section, it's not so it's not so easy to pass. So I had some problem with this.
That's all. Thanks very much.
Interesting, Vincent saying that, because Luc Alphand, no problem for him. Interesting. David?
Here we have the what was the lead car, number 2 car, the Zytek Motorsport car, and they've had a driver change to put Stefan Johansson in, but it can't get the left-hand rear wheel off. The car's up on stands, that's why it's wobbling about. It's on the air jacks, and they're pulling and pulling and pulling at that rear wheel. The rear wheel seems to have welded itself onto the hub for some reason, and you can see it moving. So it is moving. It can get some of it to move, but it can't actually get it all the way off. It's just rocking. It's not quite off. Now they're kicking it as well as pulling it. They're saying get underneath and kick it from the other side. That's what they're trying to say, basically. But this is a real nightmare for the team. They were dicing for the lead. They've been right up there all afternoon. Stefan Johansson had a fantastic first stint when he was in it. He was second in. Hayeki Noda started the car and really was right going. But all this time, imagine every second they lose here is just so difficult to make up on the circuit. And the circuit, you're fighting for a little bit here, a little bit there, but trying to get this off is just horrendous. The rest of the wheels have been done. There it is. Eventually it's off. Oh yeah, throw it away, get rid of that. Get this tyre on now. A new one. Just have a quick check, make sure everything's okay. Nope, we're going to have a look at something first. There's the number 10 car. It's been in and out, and that was the car that was in 3rd place. It will now be in 2nd place. It was only 50 seconds behind the number 2 Zytek car before the pit stops. It came in almost at the same time, but back out beforehand. Nicholas Manassian now back on board. This is a guy that's been with the Croatian Autosportive most of the time.
So how quickly things can change here, David. Manu Collard then leading from Nick Manassian and Jamie Campbell-Ward at the moment, but wait till see where the Zytek falls in. We, though, are going to be taking a break, so we'll find out when we come back from that. Make sure you stay with Motors for our coverage as we go into the last hour and 40 minutes of the 1,000 kilometres at Donington Park. A long afternoon for the drivers, a long afternoon for us, but it's sports car racing, and what more do you want on Motors? Great. TV. We're going into the final 52 minutes of this 1,000 kilometres at Donington Park. Mark Cole and David Leslie. And David, what a race we've had so far.
It's been non-stop ever since 12:30 when this race started here in UK time. It's been non-stop all the time. This guy had a hard time at the beginning, the Pescarolo car, but once they got past their stop-go penalty for corner cutting, they've managed to size back through the grid and get to the front, and they've been quite happily there. Pushed very hard by the Zytek number 2 car with Hayeki Noda and Stefan Johansson. Unfortunately, that has suffered transmission problem. Oh, there's the 63 car in the gravel. Will it get out? That's a long way to go to get out of that gravel. It's got the foot hard into it. You can see it spinning up. How much gravel is going to throw out the back? Can it get back on? Oh, there it goes, back on. And I'm trying to look and see exactly where that was, and I think it was at the first corner. Yes, it was. It's gone off at the very first corner. Now they've had Garcia's had the forethought to very quickly get the foot into it to try and push himself out of the gravel trap, rather than take his foot off the throttle and then have just it sink in there and have to wait for someone to tow him out. Now he is, or was, second. No, he should still be second, because 3rd place guy was the Ferrari, Peter Cox, that was driving in that car, but he's a full lap behind so he'd be able to get out there, but now he doesn't have a full lap at all over the Ferrari, and he's in second place, so that's handing even more time to the lead car in the category number 72. But in the pits now, the creation with Nicholas Benassian on board, and looking at the sky you can see how dark it's getting up there with those big black clouds. We know it's been dry all day, and they're pulling at it. Now then, this is what happened to the other car, wasn't it? The wheel wouldn't come off, and the car was being shaken about good style to try and get the wheel off. Now then, all we can see is that car moving around. Nope, the car's down on the ground, ready to go, so we're not sure why. Maybe it was just the rear tyres they were changing, maybe it was a bit stiff to come off, not as bad as his teammate's car. It doesn't look as though he spent too much time in the pits, but he is up against his teammate for second place. His teammate's in third. I think he'll come out with sufficient time, with a good enough lead over Jamie Campbell-Walter and the other creation car. And these are the two guys who've done most of the work. Jamie mostly in testing this year, and Nicholas in testing and in racing. But Jamie getting a go both at Le Mans, and now they've got the second car out, being the lead driver in the second car here at Donington Park. So these two very good friends indeed, and getting on with the job and doing a very good job out here for creation. If they can finish second and third with their two cars, I have to say they'll be feeling very happy after having 3 very, very hard weeks indeed of trying to get this car ready in time to get to this race meeting, only having it ready for Saturday morning, and the first time it turned a wheel was when it ran in free practice.
The Collard leading Manasseh and Campbell. Rob Bath still fourth in that Radical. What an afternoon for him. First time he's driven this car. That's a thank you from Martin Short for all the help Rob's given to the team, bringing Deutsche Bank sponsorship over the years. Of course, they did race together, didn't they, in the TBR days. And Tommy Erdos still on board the MG Lola of RML, Ray Mallet Racing. Jean-Marc Guinon, our pole sitter, he is in 6th place. And Jerome Polican then in 7th place in the leading LMG T1 car. That is the Corvette of Luc Alphand, if you're just joining us. And Luc Alphand heading for probably what will be the biggest victory of his career as a race driver, having been World Downhill Ski Cup champion. And behind them, Antonio Garcia, who has lost a bundle of time, having gone off at Redgate. It's already some 30 seconds behind, and we haven't actually seen what the gap is. 56 seconds that's gone to now, David. So the minute between first and second with 48 minutes to go. And Polican is not going to be an easy man to catch.
Certainly not. He knows the car's good. The car's been good all day long. He's going to be out there pushing hard to make sure he stays in front. And he's not going to give it up easily unless something goes wrong. We have seen it go wrong already for them. The LMP1 car turned in. The number 12 car driven by Gregor Fiskin touched the back of him, gave him a puncture, and that lost him almost a whole lap basically. So you know, such things can happen, and happen very easily through no fault of your own. So this race is not over, not until that checkered flag falls, and everything's still to play for.
Look at that thunderhead, that really is quite impressive. That's over to the west. The wind is coming from the west, but East Midlands Airport, which is next door to the circuit here, they gave a pretty clear meteo report to all the teams, and they do that on the line here at Donington Park. But that does look very black, David. We've got 47 minutes coming towards us. It could just give us a final surprise in this race.
It is just one small bit of cloud, isn't it? Look at the rest of the sky. It looks wonderful, absolutely fantastic. Lovely Sunday afternoon. But unfortunately, that one piece of black cloud's coming.
The car's looking like they're doing very well out there, but is the Pescarolo unbeatable?
I think probably today, yes. We've had some problems in the pits with some parts on the car. Just we couldn't change the wheels quick enough. We lost a couple of laps with the number 9 car. But I'll have to say, we really have come out today and done a good job. I don't think we'll catch Henri's cars, but we'll try.
Yeah, obviously valuable points anyway for the championship.
It is. If anything, it's the wrong way around at the moment. We could really do with the number 9 car in P2, but hey, that's the way it goes sometimes.
Hey, the tactics towards the end of the race, it's not too far away now. Will there be any chopping and changing with the cars from now to the end?
No, not at all. It's the number 10 cars run very well all weekend. It's new here this weekend. It's a credit to the guys at Creation who built it. You know, it's unfair to do that. We're quite happy with the result at the moment.
Thanks very much.
David, I don't think getting two cars they brought here onto the podium is going to make them too unhappy, is it? And that's going to be a great achievement if they can pull it off.
I think it's a fantastic achievement for the Croatian boys. They've worked so hard to get this car ready in time for this race. As we said, they've sort of like done 16-hour days for the last 3 weeks to get this car here, and for it just to turn a wheel yesterday morning in free practice for the first time, and to be out here running in second place overall is really fantastic, and very, very good indeed for the team. And to have their other car, the number 9 car, running in third overall, to be on the overall podium either side of the Pescarolo car, I think it's got to be a fantastic achievement. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I think the boys all need a very big pat on the back.
Well, very large beer tonight, of course. They'll have earned it. Funny, shorter meetings, of course, this year. 2-day meetings rather than 3 days. Everyone came to sit up Friday. It never stopped raining Friday. There was track days on, and then Saturday, everything's crammed into Saturday. Practice, qualifying, warm up this morning, and then the race. So this is the trend now, isn't it? Not just the Le Mans Series, but FIG is heading towards that.
It's the cost that's involved, and I was talking to Bill Binney, and he was saying when you look at all the teams that are in the pit lane, he says the cost of getting all those teams, the cars, the trucks and everything to and from the circuits is an absolute fortune. So if you're going to add an extra day in, that's an extra day staying in a hotel. You know, if you've only got one team, then you've probably got a dozen people or more, but you know, some of the bigger teams have got an excess of 30 people. And then if you add that for 40 teams, then that's an awful lot of people, an awful lot of hotel rooms per night. And that really does make racing very, very expensive indeed. So everything's looked at in every respect, and you know, the overall cost of things. If you can do it in 2 days, it will save the teams a lot of money. And you know, there isn't a never-ending pot of money to be able to go motor racing. These guys are all doing it on a budget. The budgets vary tremendously depending upon which team you're in. Some have got a bit more money than others. But at the end of the day, you've still got to try and do it at a sensible price. And doing it over 2 days is much more sensible than doing it over 3 days. 3 days is great if you're a driver and you spend all day running around in the car. But at the end of the day, it's still expensive.
Pierre Bruno, seeing you here in this race, doing relatively well, although we haven't been talking about you up till now. Can you give us your impressions of the race for the team up to this point?
We had just 2 little problems, a puncture, and we had also a problem with penalties, so we lost time on here. But we run regularly, and we hope finish about 12 general overall, and we are 4th at the moment. We hope the podium, it's not a good place, 4th.
Okay, obviously as you said, 4th is not a good place. What's the aim of the team at this point in the running?
In the running,
Well, we seem to have lost Richard in the pit lane there. Pierre talking to him, and the car comes in behind him. That's a nice touch. But Pierre Bruno, one of the mainstays of prototype racing for some years. He was right in at the start of John Mangletz's series, and he and Marc Rostan, former French GT champions, and partners in this for a long, long time. Guys like that we really need, these gentlemen weekend racers. They provide the base for the series.
They do, and they've got a nice car, the Pilbeam there, that they run, and yeah, it's fantastic for them. And you know, it's these guys that if you start to have extra days and stuff like, then you know, can they afford the extra hotels and stuff? It's very difficult indeed. And talking now with the clutch, that's fixed, and that was just fuel and go. 42 minutes left.
Well, he won't need the clutch again, will he?
I shouldn't do. No, once it's up and running, then you don't really. Well, a lot of people will use the clutch to change down a gear, but they certainly don't use it to change up a gear. With the electronics that are now on these cars, you have a little micro switch on the gear lever, and when you pull the gear lever, the micro switch switches the engine off for about 30 milliseconds, and that allows you enough time to change up through the gears. And oh dear, that's the Paul Belmondo car, isn't it? Number 36.
Just as we're going to say, things are quietening down, but just one Belmondo car this weekend, a few budget problems. Pierre Reg on board that car, the fire extinguisher being set off. Is the car fire extinguisher going off there? Or?
No, I think that was somebody
else
behind the wall. Why has the driver jumped out and ran away? I'm trying to work out, because normally drivers will always sit in the cars to try and get the car back to the pits. I'm trying to work out where that is. That is round the back of the pits. I'm sure it is just before between Melbourne Hairpin and Goddard. Yes, it's on the grass on the left-hand side. So there we see it jumping over the wall to a place of safety. Pretty much that car could be left there. It's not a place that people would normally spin off or fall off. But having said that, you never know. Any place on the circuit is a possibility for people to fall off, because motorsport is a dangerous activity and things can go wrong. So that's just one of those things that happens. And they're going to push the car, I think, back until it's closer to the wall, or at least straight and parallel with the circuit. So that'll be quite good for them. But there's the number 20 we're looking at, and it goes on its way.
Advan, Yokohama. Advan, Yokohama.
We're on the run-in then to the checkered flag here at Donington Park. 24 minutes to go in the fourth round of the Le Mans Series. The Donington Park 1,000 kilometres, the first time Donington has run a race of this length for sports cars, certainly. We're on board with the Orlando Porsche. Mark Lieb, factory driver, on board it. David Leslie, what have you got for us?
Yeah, just while we were waiting for the break, the lead car, the number 17 Pescarolo, driven by Emmanuel Collard, he came into the pits for a splash and dash. He came in, had fuel only. Just put a bit of fuel in, send him straight back out again as quickly as possible. We're looking now on the screen, the GT2 category, Team LNT out front with this car, the MontyMotorsport number 76 in second place, the Porsche, and the 97 Ferrari that had been leading before he ended up in the gravel trap when he had come together with the Proton LMP2 car, sorry, MP1 car that had Phil Bennett driving it. So that was him unfortunately dropped from the lead down to third place. So the number 81 with now Robert Bell on board. He's the best part of a lap ahead of this car with Mark Lieb on board, and there's only very little difference. The last lap was only 0.5 of a second faster, this car, the Mark Lieb driven Porsche, over the panels with Rob Bell on board. So Robert really doing a fantastic job this afternoon with that panels, and Lawrence Thomason feeling very pleased indeed with the pairing of Robert Bell and Warren Hughes. He felt that they've done a really good job in qualifying and all weekend, and they said very well matched indeed, and if they could hang on for the last 20 odd minutes, I'm sure that Lawrence will be more than happy at the end.
Let's go down to the pits, and Richard, I think, waiting to talk to the people to Auto Orlando, perhaps to Joe Canathius. Let's see who he's got for us down there.
I think he's still wandering about in the pit lane trying to get hold of that interview. Not quite happening just yet. Here we are.
The team doing very well today, and if you keep this position, it looks like you'll be champions this year.
Everybody, I mean, cross the finger. We did a great job during these few races, and now we are second. We can win the championship. We are hoping. There's still 20 minutes to go, but we are hoping on that.
Okay. Any comments on the race so far?
Well, I did a small mistake during my first stint. I go straight because I was looking on the mirror because there was a lot of traffic in this track. But it was nothing happened to the car, so we go straight for our finish, you know.
Okay, so obviously now Mark will be staying in the car right till the end now.
Yeah, we still 20 minutes to go, then we'll finish.
Joel, thanks very much.
Well, he mustn't count his chickens before he's hatched. If they do finish in second place today, they're going to have 34 points, and if Team LNT finish today, they'll be 26 points. So Team LNT could still overhaul them at the final race at Jarama.
That's the manufacturer's points you're looking at, in actual fact, that's correct. But for manufacturer's points, it has to be a set car, and unfortunately, it's a car that's broken down to the Team LNT, so they can't score any points. But when you move to the Drivers' Championship, you find that Joel is up on his own, because his teammate wasn't with him at the last couple of races, so he's had a first and 2 seconds already, and if he's another second here, that'll be 3 seconds in the first. That will give him the Drivers' Championship, but not necessarily the manufacturers. Well, it should give the manufacturers as well, because the sister car to this, the 81 car, is unfortunately not finishing the race, and it's the one car. There's only one car counts for manufacturers' championship points. I had this conversation with Lawrence Thomason this morning, and he was saying the way the points seem to be working, he says, there's no reason to run 2 cars whatsoever, because only one car can score points. He says, if 2 cars score points, he says, I can understand that. He says, you'll continue to run 2 cars. But if it proves to be that only one car scores points, he says, I'm wasting my money running 2 cars. I said, I need to run 1 car and that's all. Looking at that chicane there, somebody else has been off. There's even more gravel spread across that circuit. And that is the one corner you have to be really, really careful at, because there's so much gravel down there. You could very easily spin the car or lose control of the car over the top of that gravel that's spread out around there. But we can see on the clock now on the screen there, 19 minutes left to go and 235 laps completed out of the 249 that's still to go. 235, so that's 14 laps still to go and 19 minutes in which to do it.
Tight. This is obviously occupying David's mind at the moment. He really wants this to work out. Bang on 1,000 kilometres at 200, bang on 6 hours, 249 laps.
Whichever way it's going to be, it's going to be very, very close indeed.
But there's only one safety car, remember. The weather's been good, and really, it's been a fairly clean race. We have had collisions, but I think the point was made earlier. The driving standard has been very, very high today. We've had a couple of little incidents. We didn't actually see the 2 that might have been controversial because they happened off camera, and at that time the director didn't have the isolator cameras on, perhaps, which are the cameras that are actually recording stuff you're not seeing, but they can go back and play it back later. But maybe there'll be some highlights later.
But you have to say that everyone had a worry on this very fast, very flowing circuit here at Donington Park, on the Grand Prix circuit here, that it would be very, very difficult to overtake indeed, and there might be a lot more bodywork damage, and that's what everyone was very frightened of. The stewards obviously had a word with the drivers at the drivers' briefing and said, look, we don't want any of this, we have to keep it clean. We've kept it clean all year long, and if there is a problem, we will stamp on it very, very quickly indeed. We feel that they've been doing that because, you know, the lead car, the guy who's leading this race, he was the first person to get a stop-go penalty. He cut the corner, he took down the marker posts, and the officials just decided not acceptable whatsoever. We will penalise you, it doesn't matter who you are. And that sunk in very, very quickly indeed. And we have had a very good race. You can see from the odd car there's a little bit of body damage here and there, but I have to say it's been a very good, clean race, and we have heard from the interviews in the pit lane just, you know, what they thought of it, and they thought the standard of driving very, very high indeed.
Yes, what you have to remember, of course, about the standard of driving, all these people are being closely observed by the ACO. It might be run by Patrick Peters' organisation, the series, but it is licensed by the ACO, the Automobile Club de l'Ouest, who run Le Mans, and Daniel Prosno, of course, from the ACO, is the race director this weekend. So any nonsense, and that will be noted in the black book at Le Mans circuit. And Ian Watson is our clerk of the course. He's from the BARC. Great job they've done all day. Been a clean, fair race, and as you said, I think they called the penalties absolutely correctly. When we've seen them, it's flashed up just a couple of minutes later. What we haven't had this weekend, though, is any fighting. And well, after Nürburgring with Donny Cravels and one of the Italians, they got involved, didn't they? They both got banned from this race, but just seemed to be a lot of fighting back this year. Paul Tracy and people like that, fisticuffs is coming back into motorsport.
It's very few and far between. There has been, I think, a total of 3 incidents worldwide that we know of this year. But then again, that is 3 incidents more than necessary. It is a non-contact sport in every respect. So I believe that's the way it should be. But here's Tim Sugden out in the Virgo Motorsport car. Did lead early on, but unfortunately 6th in class, 19th overall. So they've had their woes, and they've been stuck in a gravel trap as well. So not turned out quite the way they expected or quite the way they had hoped. They had a good car to go out and race, but unfortunately it's not done everything that it should do.
You can't take away Tim's pole position here. That was a great achievement, and leading the race early on. So he'd be well, he'd be happy with the pole. He'd obviously preferred to have had the win, but at the moment they are down in 19th position overall. They're just behind Christophe Bouchou in the Matmut Porsche. Boucher, who certainly seems to have faded a lot this year. I know he had his problems at Le Mans and was dropped by the Pescarolo team, and then rather unwisely put out a press notice about that, and that may have hurt his chances of top drives later on. But anyways, passing on that, Sugden, I think, 5th in class at the moment, but the man who's leading that class and really looking forward to getting that champagne is Rob Bell. What a great drive by him this afternoon.
That's right, and while we're talking, into the pits goes the LMP2 leader Rob Barth and the Radical, so he's going in for his last pit stop, which will be very much a splash and dash. It'll be a drop of fuel and send him straight back out again, so if there's any chance of seeing him in the pit lane before he comes back out onto the circuit. So he's in the lead, got quite a bit of a lead at the moment over Tommy Erdos in the Lola MG, the AD sponsored car.
Huge amount of time Tom has been in the car. He must have done 4 hours by the end of this race.
I think he will have done, because he did the first 2 hours, Mike Newton did the middle 2, and then Tommy will get in and finish it off at the end. And we see the just as we speak, the overall leader coming up to past Tommy, who is 5th overall. You can see there the car number 25, and another lap being put on him by the overall leader, and 7th overall, first of the GT1 cars, and 12th overall, first of the GT2 cars. So there we a rundown of all the cars as we go through across the bottom of the screen. Position with 239 laps completed, so only 10 laps still to go and 13 minutes in which to do it. And I think the minutes are going to tick away, because it's a minute and a half basically for each of the laps. So the closer we get to the end, the more it looks like it will be 6 hours rather than the whole 249 laps, but it is going to be very, very close indeed. I think it's just that one safety car period that's altered the time between the distance and time in making it a 6-hour race rather than the full 1,000 kilometers.
Didier André driving obviously very well in this car, and a car that's going spectacularly well yet again. But one thing we haven't mentioned is the fact that at the last race there was a big question mark hanging over the Pescarolo team, and with your arrival here you've actually been able to put your backing behind the Pescarolo team. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, we've been in contact since the beginning of the year together, and I only have the opportunity to drive for them at Le Mans, and it didn't happen. But one of my sponsors, Rodi, is my sponsor on the ice race, and I guess something happened, and a few partners too wanted to be part of the team, and I mean it's a good thing for everybody, and of course I'm very happy.
Obviously, as we said, that the big question mark was hanging over the team. Now they're going to get through to the end of the season without any problems. How important was it to find this extra backing?
It was important for me to show what I can do, with LMP1. It's a very competitive car with probably the best drivers, So it was tough, and my job was really to show them what I can do. And I guess if Henri, asked me to come, it's because he wanted to see what I can do too.
Didier, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, we've got problems for Rob Barth in the Radical. The car's been in the pits. It's lost 2 laps already now. There it is. There it is. They can't get the car moving. David, big problems there.
That looks like a gearbox problem. They're trying to roll it backwards and forwards. Maybe it has to start on its own. It has to start on the button. And this is just heartbreaking for this team. Rob Barth's on board. There's Martin telling him what to do. He says, press the button, press the button, press the button, on, off, on, off, on, off. Try and get it to fire up. And they're trying everything they can. They can't push start it. It has to start. Part of the rules and regulations of the ACO Championship is it must be self-starting. And you can see one of our camera crew arriving down there. They're going to wheel it back in. I think they're going to try and start it in the pits, get it sort of like running, switch it off and start again. But this is the man who's trying to capitalize on that problem, and that's exactly what he's doing just now. Tommy Erdos is carrying on. Remember, these guys have led these races, every single one of them. They have yet to win one of the Le Mans Series races. They did win the Le Mans 24 Hours race in their class, but not one of these races. This is what they've got to try and do. They've got to get this car started, and they've got to get it out. Still working on the Radical number 22 in the pits. They've got to get it back out before this guy gets back round to the start and finish. That's how close it is for this in the LMP2 category, and it's been close all day long. It wasn't until the Zytek number 2 dropped out that the lead for the overall lead sort of fell apart, and then we're left with the number 17 Pescarolo out and lead on its own. But there has been a battle constantly for the LMP2 lead, originally between about 4 or 5 cars. They've slowly dropped by the wayside. There it has made it into the lead. Number 25 car has eventually made it into the lead. It will be when it gets, I'm sure it won't be until it gets round this time, but they can still get that Radical started, that roll centre car run by Martin Short, get it started back onto the circuit before this car gets round to the start and finish. Now it's a real battle between the British guys here, because both of these British run cars, and this car's been throwing smoke out all the time. Now it's throwing sparks out of it. Something is going wrong with this number 70 Corvette. Look at that. That's a rear suspension failure. Something is broken on the suspension. It's dragging on the ground. If he's not careful and that breaks completely, that will throw him off the circuit. And that's not good. The team needs to be watching these TV camera pictures and relaying it back to the driver and saying, get yourself back into this pits until we have a look and see what's wrong. You cannot allow this car to carry on round there in such a dangerous condition for another 6 laps, because that's how long it is before the end of this race, and it just looks so bad underneath the back of that car. Something is dragging on the ground. It may be the exhaust is broken. That's what it looks as though it could be. It looks as though it could be the exhaust is broken. It's fell onto the ground. The exhaust will be made of stainless steel, and that's what will be causing the sparks. Those type of sparks caused by stainless steel, and that's what it looks like. Exactly where the exhaust is, underneath the number 7 of the 70 of the car, and there's the sparks from the stainless steel. That's going onto the tyre. That won't be helping the heat of the tyre either.
Right, while you've been watching that, Tommy Erdos has moved into the LMP2 lead. He's passed Rob Bath, who's still stationed in the garage. He's got a lap on him already, so 4th place for Ray Mallet Racing. This is what they wanted. This is what they came here for. Try and get that win this year in the LMS.
Yeah, it looked as though they were going to go through the whole of this series and not actually win a race. Now, this is not what you wanted to see. The car's up on stands. They've obviously got a starter motor problem.
Into the pits after being in P4 overall and looking again like you've hit a bit of bad luck.
Yeah, the pinion has gone on the starter motor, and I think that's the end of it. They're trying to change the starter motor now, but there's 5 laps to go to the end of the race.
Okay, well, all the best for the rest.
Well, so the mechanics now will be absolutely flat out underneath that car to try and change that starter motor. Even if it means changing the starter motor, forget about the bodywork, forget about putting on that ground, that floor that's on the back, the ground effect floor. Just leave it in the workshop. Put the car on the ground, wheel it out, start it up, and finish the race. If they finish this race, they could still be 3rd, even 2nd in class, because the number 20 car, the Pilbeam with Rostan driving, has got 222 laps. Balfour's 300. There are 11 laps in the lead. There's only 5 laps of the race left. All they've got to do is get that car started, out onto that circuit, finish the last lap, and they will be 2nd in class.
So this car, though, no mistake here. This is the Pescarolo car, the Pescarolo Judd, 10-point maximum Istanbul, 10-point maximum Spa, 10 points in Nürburgring, and it's going to be 10 points in Donington if they can just get through his final 6 minutes this race. They will have won the title with 1 race still to go at Jarama, so that class will have been wrapped up by then. With at the moment just trying to work out, maybe I don't think anyone's going to position at the moment to overtake Swiss Spirit, but that one will go down for the runner-up position down to Jarama. In LMP2, that's still going to be wide open, and in GT1 also wide open, but it looks like Sjoeke Mathias is about to take the LMGT2 title here as well. On board then with Nick Manassian. This is the car that's running in 2nd at the moment. Rob Barth falling down the order. We saw him sitting in that garage, absolutely impassive. That guy has just had a major win taken away from him. How would you be feeling?
You've really got to feel very sorry for the team. They've been right there all the time. Everybody else has had their problems. They've kept out of them, but the problem have come to bite them at the end of the day. So still in this LMP2 category, none of the teams seem to be able to get through a whole race without problems somewhere along the line. Even the RML car had a puncture earlier on, and that cost them a pile of time. So they've all had something go wrong somewhere along the line, but unfortunately for the number 22 car, the Rob Barth driven Radical owned by the Roll Centre car, it's dropping down. Still in 6th place overall with the number of laps it's done, but it really does need to get out there to finish this race.
Yeah, that courage of Jean-Marc Goun on the pole car then up into 5th place, but it's not going to beat Tommy Erdos and Ray Mallock Racing in that MG Lola. Still the name of MG proudly showing on the car. Of course, Ray Mallock is now dealing with MG parts, and MG coming back soon as a force, Chinese owned, but they're going to start building cars again. There'll be some built China, some built in Wyoming, so it's going to be very much a now car come next year.
That's right, and you know, the performance parts is a business that the Ray Mallock group of companies now has taken on board, and they're selling sort of all the racing parts or performance parts for MG cars for the whole of this country. But with only 3 minutes to go,
Peter Cox in the pits. He's brought the Lennox car in. Is that for Splash and Dash? That car third in class.
I think that could simply be for Splash and Dash.
Yeah,
but
he's three laps ahead of the Finnish Dutch Corvette, so he's no concern there, because even if the flag goes out now, as long as
he's back out on the circuit,
he's out. Yeah.
But we're watching now 247 laps completed, 2 laps left to go, 3 minutes 20 seconds left to go on the time clock, and I have to say that whoever worked out 249 laps or 6 hours did a very, very good job indeed, because that's exactly what he's got to work out at.
Let's award that one to Dennis Carter of the BARC.
I might have awarded some of his people, maybe not to Dennis in his own mathematics. I like Dennis very much. I seen him last weekend at a hill climb at Chelsea Walsh, and he was looking very good indeed.
Yeah, of course they will have sat down, the club will have sat down with the circuit and done all these sums, so very good, as you say. That it's going to be spot on, isn't it? 1,000 kilometres, bang on the 6 hours. That's exactly how a race should be run.
And this people in front, the Pescarolo car with Emmanuel Collard on board, just reeling off the laps. He's not turning in particularly fast laps, but good laps all the time. 1 minute 24, which is as quick as anybody is out there. I think only Jamie Campbell-Walter was quicker on that last lap, and certainly turning in some very good lap times indeed. And this is a car that really has seen a lot of action this year, having done the other Le Mans Series races as well. So, and as well as the 24-hour race, so you have to say it'll be a well-used car come the end of the season. But with such history and simply wiping the floor with everybody during the 2006 season of the Le Mans Series, you have to say that it should be worth a bob or two extra come the end of the season.
That's the Advan Courage crawling around there, Kurosawa and co, and there's a number of cars crawling around now. Now just remember under Le Mans rules you have to take the checkered flag running to be classified. So Rob Barth is still sitting in that garage. He's not going to be classified at all if they don't get that car out.
No, that's going to be a major problem. That's why they knew they had only 5 laps in order to get a starter motor changed. That's what I said. If you change the starter motor and it started, put it on the ground, send it. Forget about bolting the bodywork on, forget about anything. Just get it onto that circuit and get it running. And there's Tommy Erdos again being lapped. Tommy Erdos going very slowly in actual fact. He's not just being lapped, but he's going slowly. Maybe he's had the call from Phil Barker, the team manager, to say slow down enough to let the number 17 car go past. And if you do that, then we've got 1 lap less to do. He's certainly got a big enough lead in class.
Well, he's got
nobody's going to beat him overall.
He's got 13 laps over the Pilbeam. The Pilbeam's going to finish second. How's that for Pierre Bruno and Mark Rostad?
That would be absolutely fantastic for them. Absolutely really terrific for them. But he is the lead car on the last lap, round the last corner. Emmanuel Collard coming to the checkered flag. There's the checkered flag waved. Across the line he goes. Only the number 19 car didn't realise what was going on and stayed in front of him. Had he slowed down a little bit more, he would have saved himself an extra lap. But the winner of the 1,000 kilometres here at Donington Park on the Grand Prix circuit, Manuel Collard in the Pescarolo C60 Judd.
And let's not forget the contribution from Didier Andre, first time this season in that car, and he did exactly, obviously, what Pescarolo asked him to do: look after the car, keep it in the lead, and bring it back safely. Good job done.
It was a very good job done in the middle sector. He did a good stint, double stint in the middle sector as well, and I think that was a very good job done by him. He came from the Paul Belmondo team, where he was running during the first part of the season, to that team. There's Tommy Erdos. He's across the line, he's happy, he's waving, he's got the fifth wave. There you can see the various sponsors. NetView is one of the DM group of companies that Mike Newton owns, that sponsors this car, the number 25 RML Run MG Lola with the AER turbo engine in the back of it. So a good job done by them. Eventually, 4 races in, they win a race. That should put them to the top of the championship, where they want to be. But across the line, oh no, he's gone into the pits. That car that was struggling didn't go across the line, he came into the pits. One of the little LMP2 cars, not sure which one it was, but if I was his team manager, I told him just to cross the line, even if he had to park it after that.
I think we're about to hear from Henri Pescarolo, who's just become the 2006 Le Mans Series champion.
Jean-Christophe Bouillon, we've seen the car go past in first place yet again at the end of one of these Le Mans Series races. It seems to be just unstoppable, the Pescarolo.
Well, it was our target to win that race and to win the championship with the panache, you know. And in small piece in our mind, we would like to win all 5 races, so we still have 1, and then we will be very happy.
Okay, the car coming in now, as we can see right behind us, coming through. It must be a fabulous feeling, actually, to be dominating the series so easily.
Well, we have to congratulate the team first, because they've done a really great job. They gave us a really good car today. So first of all, they won the race, and then we did the job. But it's all the team. We did it.
Jean-Christophe, thanks very much.
And there we see the that was them crossing the line there. As you see, the team on the pit wall waving at Emmanuel Collard crossing the line first. 4 wins out of 4 starts. You have to say that is a fantastic achievement for the Pescarolo team. They certainly didn't have a good start. They had that drive-through penalty, but picked up, managed to get themselves back, drove themselves back to the front of the grid, got themselves right up there and stayed there as everybody else fell apart around them.
Not only the 4 wins in the LMS, but of course second in the Le Mans 24 Hours. A lot of Formula 1 teams would kill for that sort of reliability. So there we are. There is our top finishers, and look at that, 3 British teams taking the honours in the other 3 classes. What an afternoon. So Pescarolo Sport wins the 2006 Le Mans Series Championship in LMP1, and as we've already said, Autolando Sport and Joe Mathias cannot be beaten. What about this man though? Luc Alpham, what a success for him today.
It's great for him, and you see Henry
Advance.